Dun, dun, dun.
We are reviewing the Orville Season 3, New Horizons. The episode is episode 5, and the title is The Tale of Two Topas.
You know what that's from, right?
I don't know.
It's a take from A Tale of Two Cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, upvoting, downvoting, let's rock and roll. We open up on an ancient palace / pyramid / some kind of archeological dig, which I love. So far it's good. They have been tasked to investigate or what's it called? Like when you excavate, maybe?
Yeah. Excavate, archeological. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you see that cool bird in the beginning that was flying in?
The bird had 2 wings.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. And there's some dialogue, but not important.
Basically, we learn that Captain Ed is writing letters to his daughter.
Anaya.
Yeah, and so that's cool. And Kelly's, like, you've been on that thing a whole lot. What's going on?
Yeah.
But they're actually there to do the dig. They're trying to figure out this civilization that's long past now.
Right. Yeah. So he's writing letters to his daughter that she may never see because she lives on Krill and they are mortal enemies.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. So they mapped the whole city and they. All right. So I'm gonna start this off with an upvote. I'm gonna upvote this weird looking dude. Is
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I had to do a double take. I thought it was Lieutenant Dan at first.
Does he have it looks like he had at one point like a beak?
Okay.
Like in their evolutionary point, perhaps they had a beak, and he has I don't know, of course he's wearing green because he has to. His body is green. It looks awesome. It's cool. It's very cool.
That is very cool.
And Isaac says, you guys stand back because there's booby traps.
I upvote that. I need an upvote for that.
Okay. And he takes all the hits. Then we get a little bit of comedy in that, he gets an arrow stuck in his head.
And Ed's like, you got something, right there.
Yeah. So it was good. Very good. All right. Door knocks down, and they go into a chamber that looks like it's straight out of Indiana Jones or something.
Indiana Jones, yeah.
A lot of artifacts and gold and this might literally be a shot of the end of National Treasure because it has the same vibe.
Yeah.
All right. Back on the ship. This guy. I don't know. I sort of like this. Dig this dude right now.
You like the way he looks?
Yeah, it's a cool looking character, man.
So we learn about this kind of, now this is world building, so it's kind of cool. We're getting more, world building. We get more Orville, canon from the civilization. So it'll be interesting if in future, depending on what happens, future episodes, if something ties back to what they're doing here. I will say one thing about this episode was this intro didn't really play into the rest of the episode.
No.
So it was a little bit disjointed because I couldn't figure out kind of as we go forward what's the point of this whole beginning because there was no callback to it, which usually in an Orville episode, something they're doing in the beginning that seems like a one-off or a throw-off ends up you get a callback to it in some way.
Right.
And so this was actually probably a downvote for me, is that this intro didn't turn into anything that had anything to do with the show.
It's fair. That's fair. Yeah, none of it, not just the pyramid, but the stuff that they're on the ship that they're looking through and all that. This is all of that is basically a waste of time.
Essentially, until this is where the episode really starts with Topa in the simulation.
In the simulator, yeah. Okay. All right, she's gonna go to bed or whatever, and Topa is doing the command.
And what's cool is I immediately knew it was Topa,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't seen Topa since he was little. So it's kind of cool that we just kind of noticed this, and Topa has this real command happening here of what's happening. And I was very struck at the beginning. I'm like, okay, well, we got a potential new long-term Macklin character for the show.
Right.
So upvote this Topa. I'm going to call badass Topa, I guess.
Command level Topa.
Command Topa.
He gets mad and he hits the simulated panel and it cuts him. So I guess no safety protocols on that.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, we don't really know a lot about simulator safety protocols and all that stuff, but apparently, yeah. Does he ever get medical attention? No.
No. Okay, now this is when it's, you know what? This is when it starts.
All right, let me preface this by saying something, okay? First off, okay, this is going to be an episode of the Orville that is completely all about transgender issues, transgender. I don't know how else to say it. I think it's transgenderism. I think maybe. And we all know that Topa was born a girl, and the Macklin Society forced. They only want males, so she was forced sex changed into a male. And this is an issue. Coming back to this is actually a good thing because it's something that, was an issue that was unresolved from before. So as we go forward to talk about this, absolutely no problem if they want to talk about, transgender issues. They're using an alien civilization, just like we praised them for before. That's totally good. And up to this point, everything is okay that they're doing, in my opinion. And Brian's gone, so I think I'll continue going. So he's still doing it. So let's just be clear that it's okay that they're telling this story. But I guess I'll just say it now. What the Orville has done very well over the first 2 seasons is have a very balanced view on politics. So like they talk about what their issue is, but they've always done a good job of kind of showcasing both sides of a situation. And I always felt like it was very balanced. This episode is extraordinarily one-sided in its political viewpoint. And it almost gives us a perspective of maybe someone who doesn't have children, probably doesn't understand the whole situation. And Clyden is kind of turned into this one-dimensional conservative viewpoint type individual. And I think what they failed to do in this episode is find any sort of balance on the side of 2 issues. And I think that's where this episode probably goes a little bit in the wrong direction.
Yes, you are correct.
I'm glad we agree. Yeah. Next scene.
I don't.
So basically, yeah, I understand. So Topa feels this connection with Kelly, and they're trying to show that, hey, she was born a girl, and and in this situation, when you take a look at it, she started out a girl and was changed into a boy.
Right.
So it makes total sense that that she started out as a girl. So common sense wise, they kind of lean into that for this episode. You know what I mean? So it does make sense that, if Topa wants to be changed back to a girl, then that's really not a big issue. But that's not what this episode's dealing with. This episode is dealing with what our society is currently going through, struggling with transgender teens who are miserable and want to be one sex or the other or whatever it is they're struggling with, and are unable to because they're not being supported by their parents or in this battle. And that's what this episode takes us, the road it takes down, and it gets a little bit cringy if you're a parent, for sure.
Yeah, if you're a parent, it gets real cringy. Like this wide-eyed chick, hey Topa, hey, let me help you. Oh my.
We'll just walk into it. Let's keep going till we get there, okay?
Adrian Plicky looking real crazy right now.
She gets crazier as the episode goes.
Yeah, she does. All right. So she's basically offering
Which I thought was cool.
None of the shots I land on make her look like a stable person.
Well, it starts out very innocent, very, hey, Topa wants to join the Union, which is cool. Hey, another Mocklin that wants to follow in her father's footsteps. Very cool, very supportive, very cool. This is the way it should go down. And kudos to Commander Grayson for wanting to support, and let her shadow her basically, which is something that is done. She's getting the Wesley Crusher treatment a little bit.
Yeah, I did like this too. This scene right here was funny. As I told you guys last week, this episode was going to be more comical because I knew that Bortus was going to be. I didn't know what the episode was going to be. I just knew that because it was going to feature Bortus a lot, it was probably going to be comical. And it was more comical. But because the issues they were dealing with, it was hard to focus on the comedy. But there's a couple moments before it gets heavy that are really funny. Like this guy that his religion.
Yeah, that was great.
His religion is that on the first of the month, he can't wear clothes or whatever. So he just comes to work naked. Now, I disagree with the way she handled this.
Actually, I don't. That's where I was going to upvote it.
Okay, so you can upvote it if you want.
Yeah, I want to upvote it, but because you tell me why you disagree, and I'll tell you why I agree.
I disagree because the better response would not be, can you meet me halfway with your deep religious beliefs? It should have been like, you know what? Why don't you take the first day of the week off? The first day of the month off.
That is true.
You get the first day of the month off, and because it's your religion, just like you take holidays off for religious stuff. If he is that deeply religious, then honestly, he's not going to meet her halfway and put pants on.
Well,
I know it's funny, it's a joke, but
we've run into this.
I felt like it minimized his religion a lot.
Well, but it's also it's actually very, this is the way it is in the real military. So if your religion says that you don't work on Saturdays, that doesn't mean that you don't work on Saturdays because of your religion. You joined, let's say, the Navy and signed a contract, and so you have to, work your religion within the confines of the military rules.
Well, Muslims right now, Muslims in the military, they get their time off to pray every day at the time they need, facing the right direction. Sikhs get to wear
But you get, yeah.
Go ahead.
But that's, everybody gets breaks during the day, so it's not that big of a deal.
No, they get it. Okay, you're right. But there is special treatment allowed for religion in the military.
Yes, but not to be naked. So, yeah, you still have to wear a uniform in the military.
Okay, I totally get that, 100%.
Yeah.
But wouldn't the better decision would have been just to be like, all right, you get this day off?
I mean, maybe that's something that she could have done, right? Or maybe being half naked is okay in his religion. He's partially, whatever.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Put on a pair of pants for me.
Yeah.
So it's maybe she's compromising.
Yeah. Maybe he's one of those like a traditional, he's not actually like religious, but like he follows religious, his family's he was born into that religion or whatever.
Right.
He's like, oh yeah, right. Pants are fine, yeah.
She basically just wants to get him to cover his junk. That's what she's really concerned about. So.
Yeah, get a flesh, get some kind. All right, so
upvote this alien for me. I love his.
Yeah, it was a fun alien. I'm gonna vote it too because it was a fun scene. Although I would have just given him the day off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. All right, and all right, so that's it. So he's following her on her rounds. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good. By the way, Yaphet doesn't have clothes on. I'm just saying.
What's that?
Yaphet doesn't have clothes on.
Yeah, he also doesn't have body parts to look at.
That's fair.
But it was funny is I think she talked about kissing brown nosing or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
That was pretty funny.
brown nosed.
Get this great scene of the I love that shot right there.
Yes. Yes, as do I. Okay. They talk a lot. Jeez. A lot of talking going on.
A lot of discussion, a lot of
I am not happy.
Which, a lot of transgender people are not. And so it kind of goes along that whole, she's struggling, he's struggling with who she feels like, I guess.
All right, and this one she goes to get advice from the captain and the doctor, and they're like, "Hey, we need to parent someone else's kids right now."
Yeah, everything's cool up to this point. This is good. Like she's doing exactly everything like she's supposed to be doing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So this is when she starts to step over the line, in my opinion. And
well, I'm still cool with it. No, I'm still cool with her being here. Like it's okay. She's taking her concerns to the parents. Absolutely not a bad thing.
Okay.
Right? If she's got a concern, she should be talking to him.
Taking information to the parents is one thing. Telling them what they should be doing is another thing, though.
Well, I thought she tried to delicately balance it here. Kelly has very strong opinions about this situation. And frankly speaking, she was born a girl at birth and she was force changed into a boy. With our belief structure, we don't agree with that. Okay. So for her to have that opinion, I think is okay for her to say, look, I don't agree with, I think, we all know what happened here. She tried to be really cool about it, but Clyden's like burying into her. What are you doing in my house? Blah, 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 blah. Clyden's being the asshole he always is. Right. And Bortus is trying to keep him in check. So everything's cool, I think, up to this point. And then Kelly, kind of gives her final opinion and then she leaves. Right. And like, okay, well, obviously she's done everything she can up to this point to get her opinion across. And now the parents need to figure this out between themselves.
And realistically, this is where it should end.
This is where Kelly's part in it should end. So I think they did a really good job up to this point. I can upvote it and I feel good about.
You want to upvote this right now?
Yeah, I thought it was really, powerful, emotional. She's concerned, she's engaged, and now they're fighting, which Bortus and Clyden are always fighting. And then what's important about this moment is that Clyden was also force changed into a male and learned about it. Right. And it's very understanding that he does not want Topa to know because Clyden himself wishes he had never been told because it caused so much emotional trauma and damage to him that he doesn't want his son to go through that sort of emotional trauma as well.
Yeah.
So it makes sense why he feels like he does, but he's disconnected from the way his son actually feels. Or maybe that's the way he felt and he found a way through it.
So the real solution to this is to spend more time with your kids.
Yes, and maybe talking about what's going on and coming to some sort of solution. Because maybe Clyden's never going to change how he feels. We all know how Clyden feels about this situation.
Right.
But really, this is something that Bortus and he need to figure out. And maybe it's something that their family can't survive, which we find out later on in this episode is the case. But ultimately, it should be either Bortus saying, screw you, Clyden. This is what we're going to do, fight me, right? Or Clyden vice versa. But anyways, go forward.
John Burns says, Brian, you should start next week's review naked or nude and tell Shane, don't belittle my religion. And you know what? #rights. Yeah. I'm going to next week. I'm going to start completely in the nude.
He would do that too. I think he will do that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
You think I'm joking?
Thanks a lot, guys.
I'm not joking.
Pass me that bottle. Where is it at?
I have no problem with this.
I
You
got
asked
pictures.
for it, I will give it to you. Next
right.
week, hashtag nude Popcast.
No, nude Brian.
No.
Not nude Popcast.
Nude Podcast 1/2. So everyone knows it's only half the podcast.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So whatever it is, they're fighting. Okay, we already talked about it. Moving on. All right, Topa has, he's punctual, goes to do his thing. His family is forbidden.
Wait, hold on. So this is really interesting because what Topa is telling Commander Grayson, that was really loud. What Topa is telling Commander Grayson, bro, is basically my father will not let me work with you. I can go work with Captain Ed. So now Clyden has become a chauvinist. Basically, he's a male chauvinist now.
No. It's because she butted into their lives. It has nothing to do with her.
He doesn't want Topa influenced by a female. That's what it is.
Did he specifically outlaw all females?
Well, he outlawed her and said Captain Ed was okay, though.
Yeah, but that's not. Yeah, so that's not outlawing all females. That's outlawing the nosy Karen that's inside their living room talking about what they should do with their kid.
Granted, but I kind of got that feel from it. Like, why couldn't she go and do one of the other? You know what I'm saying? Only Captain Ed.
I mean, so, if you're gonna shadow a commander, you want to shadow one of the top commanders.
That's true. Why didn't you shadow her dad?
Archmage says Thailand allows you to work naked.
Keep coming with the Thailand stuff, guys.
I really made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. This is gonna be.
Oh no, it's gonna last forever.
This is gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a long thing. Okay.
Yes, it will.
All right. So more backdoor parenting by Adrian, by Grayson.
What did she backdoor parent?
Just she's being nice, but she's also like, I don't know.
All she said was, if you ever need to talk, I'm here. That's it.
Yeah, if you ever need to subvert the will of your parents, I'll gladly listen to what you're saying. That's what that means.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah, this is well, so far I'm not mad yet. I'm okay still.
Maybe I'm like, maybe because I know what happens and my brain's starting to already get annoyed.
Yeah.
It could also be the fact that I've now had at least 3 cups of this.
That could be a problem. That could be a problem.
Hey, you know what? You're going to get your wish sooner than next week. I might be naked by the end of this show.
God, I hope not.
I've already got my socks off. Pants are coming next. All right. Is the dual religion things? So how did this work into?
I love this.
I'm slurring my language right now. How did this work into this?
How did they work it? I mean, they're still like doing their little research.
The species that they're investigating, that they're like learning about, they have some kind of dual issue to them too, right?
Dual religious, yeah, sort of, but it didn't quite connect for me with the whole. I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to take this civilization that's gone, that weren't able to survive the duality they were facing. It was basically like saying, look, if we don't fix our problems with our transgender issues, then we'll end up extinct like this alien civilization. I think that's where they were going for. Right? But it didn't really grasp me like that. And I also don't think that we'll end up an extinct species because we can't figure this out. Right. So
I hope not.
And so it was kind of lost on me.
If that's the case, if we're going to end up an extinct species because we can't figure out like this whole discussion that they're trying to bring up, we are doomed.
Right. Yeah.
We are doomed.
Right. So I just
Archmage
thought it
says
was
that's what unleashed means.
yes, it does. So that's what's confused. I think that's what's heavy-handed about this a little bit. It's like we're seeing Seth's real political and listen, guys, let's be honest, throughout since the last time the Orville was on, Seth has become a lot more politically driven.
I blame Twitter.
Twitter is a big problem. Trump derangement syndrome is a problem. He's definitely way more in on the politics, and so we're going to see that in the season 3. Whereas I felt like he may have still been, felt one way politically. He generally gave us a sense of both sides, leaning maybe in one direction, but it felt very fair. And now you can say that in this episode, there's nothing fair about Topa being forced to be a boy when she was born a girl. And I would say you're 100% right. I think that the method by which they did it and the message basically that I got from this was it doesn't matter how parents feel about their children. If the children feel like they want to be something else, then the children get to decide and parents don't have any say in the matter.
That's when I started drinking. That's when I busted out the Johnny Walker.
Right. And that's the overall problem. And that's a downvote for this episode, because that is the message that was sent, regardless if you're saying, well, we're safe because Topa was a girl, so we can say this. Well, what you're saying is that parents don't have the right to say, well, my child is not, emotionally, my child isn't ready to make that decision yet.
I mean, yeah, Topa's brain's not even finishing developed yet. Maybe hash it out as a family and don't.
Well, Topa is obvious. Okay, so let's not say Topa. Okay, let's not say Topa. Topa is obvious. Topa was definitely 100% a girl changed into a boy at birth. So this is very obvious. But we're talking about transgender youths in general who across our world, our current world, and that's what this message is for. And in those situations, they're not like Topa. And I don't think it's fair to say that they weren't born specifically male or female necessarily. I know there's situations where they're both, right? They're struggling as they grow to change. It's a different total situation. And to kind of say that should be treated exactly like this is not necessarily accurate, I think. And I think it was so heavy-handed. I mean, they basically, we're not there yet, but they'll knock Clyden to the ground and they basically force the situation to happen.
They beat the parent up and in front of him.
Right.
Oh my God, I hate it so much.
Isaac force stops him from getting to his kid, and it's like, well, we'll downvote that as it shows up. So let's keep going.
Yeah. The Archmage says not defending it, but at least Claire specifically stated that if this was a normal trans case, they would not entertain the transition until the child was of age.
No, that's interesting. Now I did notice that, and kudos for that. But maybe they had her say that, but boy, that's just not the way the acting, that's not what I got from everybody else.
Yeah.
It's not what I got from Ed or Kelly or any of the other characters. They may have said that, but that doesn't feel like what was happening, right? There was no moderate discussion about maybe this isn't the right thing. It was 100%, one-sided. There was no real contemplation other than Claire making that very quick statement.
Right, yeah. It's almost like that was maybe their safety hatch if they had to have one.
That was their, yeah, it was they're just, I'm used to the Orville having more. It's what about if somebody would have said, what if Kelly would have said, listen, it's important that the parents, or maybe she should have given Bortus and Clyden an opportunity to handle it. And then when it looked like maybe Topa was actually going to commit suicide or something like that was going to happen, then maybe she felt like she had to step in, and maybe we would all understand at that moment, hey, I'm going to keep this person from killing themselves.
Right.
And you guys need to get your crap together and solve this problem. But we weren't there yet. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't, right. She went to speed 10 right away.
Yeah, she went from 1 to 10.
Yeah, it's like right away she went into like,
it was like, I just learned about this concerning issue. Oh!
And that's exactly, and listen, no offense to whatever anybody's political persuasion is, but that is like a mirror of what happens to that side of the political spectrum in these cases.
Yeah, they just go like,
so that's why it feels like that, right? They just like, not listening. All that matters is exactly what this person feels at exactly this moment, and I will I'll burn the entire freaking world down to make sure it happens. And that's what happened in this episode.
Yeah. That's you're exactly right. The extremes are so extreme. Like, no discussion, right. No debate. You are, insert horrible thing here, and I'm going to insert crazy thing here, and there's no discussion about it. Right then.
Right.
And it happens so frequently, and that's pretty much what Kelly did.
Yeah, and I do like. Well, we can move forward. Let's move forward because there's some things I like that Kelly did as well. So it's not all negative. But here, warning. Here she is. He is saying, so what did it feel like when you were dead? And were you sad that they brought you back? Okay, now listen, if people are having suicidal thoughts, like this is a warning sign, 100%, that, hey, they're thinking about like maybe just not being here. This is definitely something to be concerned about.
Yes. You know what? That's Archmage just brought up a good point too. Ed is dealing with the fact that he has a new kid. They should have made them split on their decision. They should have had the two officers disagreeing and explaining their points. You're right. Because when Ed went when Ed went to 10, everyone around her, when Kelly went to 10, everyone around her went to 10 too. Instantly.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't like Kelly was her own. Everybody went to 10.
Yeah, it was like everyone's at 10 and Clyden should be hung from in the galleys, Like shoot him off space dog. Huh?
We're used to feeling that way about him, but this is still his child, regardless.
It's his child, Yeah, everyone went to 10, but Clyden, and all of a sudden Clyden's like coming back from his smash ball tournament or whatever. I was like, he did not show up. And everybody's like, kill Clyden!
Right. And just note that Bortus has the complete right take here. Like Bortus, by the way, upvote Peter Macon. His acting was phenomenal.
It was very
good.
It was very
just good. Gorgeously done. His reaction to Topa is exactly the reaction someone should probably have in this situation.
Right.
And we all know that he's always been on the side of, he fought from the beginning, didn't want the sex change to happen. We know where he stands on it, but his love and the way he wants to talk to his child and everything, like Clyden's not handling this thing right. Okay, obviously. But Clyden still has rights as a parent. And it's up to him and Bortus to kind of figure this out. And Bortus is definitely, the approach that, I probably would personally take with my own child. So, if that tells you where we stand, then that's probably accurate.
And I would definitely be Clyden in that. So you would be Bortus and I would be Clyden.
Yes. Yeah. We have to get a divorce now.
But you haven't sit on my egg long enough, Shane. I miss the fun stuff though, man. Like the Bortus Clyden. I was feeling it. What?
For the first time, I was feeling it too, like starting to feel like I want this to be like great science fiction, but they really knew how to insert levity into situations when they were doing things. And the serious drama Orville is fun and good, but I am waiting for those moments where I can take a breath and kind of reset myself during the episode, especially since it's a longer episode. Mm-hmm. So it does feel like it's kind of a little too serious, a little too long, and there's got to be ways to lighten it up. Now, this is one of those episodes where this is a hot button subject, a big hot button topic in our society right now, and there was probably no way to go humor in this episode.
Yeah, but you couldn't go humor in the first episode either. about suicide. You know?
Yeah. Well, maybe their topics they're heavy, and maybe it's hard to do. Maybe you can't do both. I mean, I'm trying to find ways you can do both, and it's hard. Maybe the topics need to be less serious.
Yeah, so we're at that point though where we're like, instead of leaving the episode feeling like inspired or hopeful, or I'm getting my dopamine fix from watching my show, I'm sitting there like, oh.
Yeah, because
I don't know what to do either. I don't know what to do.
It intersects your, how you feel. It's the thing about, yeah, it's tough. It's the thing about Star Trek that bothers us right now, and the Orville's kind of dancing on that a little bit. And in these things, even though the acting is just phenomenal, I mean, even Kelly's acting's just, all their acting is great. What John said, +2 for Peter Macon. Yes, give me another upvote for Peter Macon's acting, because he really was. They're all so good this episode. As far as
already
acting
upvoted
goes.
Peter Macon's acting, though.
I know, but I could get a +2 sometimes, don't I?
Okay, yeah, I'm just saying, yeah, sure.
So I think John says a +2 for his acting, and I think that was worth it. He cried, dude. He cried. For real.
Did he cry for real?
Well, you want me to repeat myself? Don't make me Isaac you, Clyden.
Okay, yeah. So Isaac does go to Kelly, and he's like, oh, and Isaac's so far is doing the right thing.
This is actually pretty funny. If you have levity in it, this is a little levity moment. Would you like me to make a shipwide announcement so that people do not feel like we're having a sexual encounter? It was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
It's good.
All right. And he's like, yeah, but something about when he deactivated himself, when he was revived. Okay. All right. So now Kelly's concerned because Isaac just mentioned that that Topaz is having trouble, right?
So downvote.
Dun, dun, dun.
Kelly should have gone to Bortus instead of going to Topa.
Yes. Go to Bortus. Why are you going to the kid? I don't understand that at all.
Go to Bortus instead of the kid. Go to the parent.
The extreme entitlement and the crazy eyes she had this episode are just out of control. Yeah. Out of control. Hey, Topa. How you doing? Oh, my God. Chill out.
I mean, it's a crazy, serious situation. I know you want to have drama. But it just, she did everything good up until this point, I think. And I am going to give her some kudos here in a second after she does this thing she shouldn't have done. But
all right. Yeah, she tells him to get, when she's feeling down, she eats like this certain pie.
Dessert, yeah, a Macklin dessert.
A Macklin dessert, right.
And she's struggling with it because she knows it's not the right thing to do.
It's called opsada cake. And now I'm hungry. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure you could find one that's to your liking. She's leading him, right?
Now, what's weird is how Topa picked up on what she was saying. Because I didn't feel like she really leaned to like she didn't go, you really need to look this up and take a really good look at a flavor you're going to really like. She didn't really do that. I thought it was just actually very, I guess Topa might be a Macklin genius or something, but it seems a little bit of a stretch that Topa was able to connect the fact that Kelly was trying to get him to look up some secret information.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Topa, the actress or actor, whatever that did Topa, did a good job.
Oh yeah, let's upvote that.
Are there two separate actors here?
No, it's one. I think it's one. I think it's a girl. Actually, let me find out for sure. I think it's a girl who changed her voice to be a little more
masculine.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's a girl. Her name's Imani Pullum, and she's really cute.
What?
She had deepened her voice for the role, probably.
You said she
to become more of a boy. so that later on when they do the change, now she's herself.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Kimbuk. Kimbuk 33. So I looked
Yeah,
it
she
up.
did a really good job in this episode, actually, in her acting. Very impressive.
I looked up the password that gets sent to him. Go Maska. And that's actually like a term in Orville. I forgot. It's some kind of has some kind of importance. Go Maska. So the password shows up on his computer. We do not yet know that it was sent by Bortus, but it was sent by Bortus.
Well, and here's what's funny is I figured it out pretty quickly. When Kelly starts having the conversation with Bortus, where she's like, "I didn't," and I'm like, "Oh, well, it was Bortus." You know,
Right?
He's the only other one who would have access. Because at first I'm like, man, if Kelly did that, like that would just be, this is so bad. This is so not right what she did. And the fact that Kelly has this moment where she's like, I need to know if I did the wrong thing here. She goes to Claire and she's, so kudos to Kelly for recognizing she probably did the wrong thing. And so she's at least she has turmoil over the decision, which I'm grateful for, even though she should have held back,
Right. All right, so he gets the password, looks it up, finds out that, okay, this was funny. Here, we got some levity. Woo! Here we go.
Yeah, that was good.
Here's some more levity. So there was actually a few funny moments. So, of course, Grimes ate something he shouldn't have eaten, and now he looks like this. It was sort of funny. And he basically ate it because it looked like it might taste good.
Yes, that was fantastic.
Yeah, so it was good. I feel like we're not getting very much Scott Grimes.
No, we haven't got a whole lot of him, but we're after talking to him, we know he's going to be singing in upcoming episodes, so we're going to get more. We do have 5 more episodes, so
that's fair. Okay, Clyden, how was your game? We did not play. Topa never arrived. So he was going to play that game where the thing stabs your hand.
Awesome.
with his kid.
Mocking for you, man.
With his young preteen son. Yeah, he's going to play that game where if you're the one holding it, it stabs you.
Right.
Yes, but that is odd. He has never missed a grand loctum. All right. So here they find out that he knows, and it's a whole thing.
And it's very realistic to how a child would, confront their parents, I think, over something like this. And I think they missed a real opportunity for Clyden to connect with his son, daughter, because of the shared experience he has. I figured, it would have been, Clyden did it, Chad did a really good job acting here as Clyden. He's our favorite Mocklin to hate. But this one is a real good opportunity for there to be some sort of connection, because Clyden's the only one who understands what Topa's going through.
Right.
And they didn't explore that. There should have, instead of Clyden saying, I wish you were never born, which is just, there are so few parents that will say that to their children.
Right. You got to be like an insane
Even
person.
In stressful situations. You've basically made Clyden totally unredeemable.
Right.
And granted, he's been a relatively unredeemable character the whole show, so I get it. But that is just like in my opinion, downvote. It's just a bridge too far. I know we're not there yet. It's just a bridge too far, and
I agree.
I feel like this was done in order so that they could justify the stance they took making Klyden so that Kelly could do what she did, because there was no way in the world that Klyden was ever going to, he was going to take it to death, basically.
Right.
So that it justified all the actions of the Orville crew members to do what they did, because Klyden isn't a fit parent.
Right.
Because he just said, I wish you were never born.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say it right then, right?
Well, it's later, but it came up now because.
Right.
You see what I'm
so
saying?
basically it's like, this is gaslighting. Like we have to make him look like the absolute worst possible version of a parent, like unfit, so that we can parent for him. And that is ridiculous.
And he's still got a parent in Bortus, and Bortus ends up, it just would have been better if Bortus had been, and they end up making Bortus because he gives the password, and Bortus ends up becoming that force. But, it's weird how it should be Bortus in these meetings with the Admiral, and Bortus in all these things where, he's going to let Isaac do what he does. It's almost like everybody else decided but Topa's parents,
Right.
And, or even was a part of it. And Topa had an ally with one of his parents, and that parent still had no say in what happened.
Right.
And that's a problem.
It is a problem. Yeah. The whole this episode definitely felt like it is not anyone's job to raise my kids. Right. And if I do a bad job, that's on me. If I do a good job, that's also on me. It's not my kid's teacher's job. It's not policeman's job. It's not the state's job. It's not my grandparents', my grandparents' job. It is my job to raise my kids. And because I am paying the price and I am putting in the work, then I am able to raise them how I see fit with my values and my ideas. You cannot like my ideas and you cannot like my values, but that still does not give you the right to any degree to tell me that I cannot raise my kids that way. And we're seeing a lot in society right now where the parent's position is being diminished in favored and to make way for a more quote unquote favorable position from teachers or nurses or other practitioners that deal with children. And that's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. And the people that have no problem with that either aren't parents, so they have no vote, or they have a lot of issues and mental health issues with their own parents, and that is playing into their mindset.
I think you're right.
And this entire episode feels like that. It feels like that exact messaging that we're constantly getting. Where
somebody made a comment here. Atheist for the Cause, said it really was even against the knowledge of the child. So when they finally go to do it, Topa doesn't even realize they're going to sex change him back.
Right.
And almost and has
just
a moment of hesitation.
Topa.
Right. And there's this moment of hesitation from the child. And Isaac's like, I promise I'll take care of you. And it's almost like Isaac had to convince the child to go through with it because he's now a trusted person who told her that it would be okay.
Right.
Now, once again, I get that Topa was a girl, and making her a girl again is not that big of a deal.
Okay, no. Before you move on, I'm letting you move on.
Right.
I want you, audience, whatever he says next, remove that from your brain. Remove the what you know about Topa and that the fact that he was a girl, born a girl. Now let's just admit that fact. Now, whatever you say next, continue.
Yeah. So to have a trusted adult person, professional, tell you it'll be okay, I'll take care of you. You do this. It's not hard to convince a child. A child's going to be like, well, most children are going to be like, well, okay, I trust you. And that's kind of what happened here, even though ultimately, Topa is happier in this situation, in this story. I think it's scary because if a 12-year-old child, I don't know how old this child Topa it really is. But if, 11 or 12-year-old child, comes and they can easily, maybe eventually they should have their sex changed. Maybe, but it definitely shouldn't be a professional telling them it's okay and you should do it.
It definitely shouldn't be some random a person of authority over that child, but not over the parents.
Right.
Physically forcing the parent out of the room to then career. Like it's such a bad look. Like, and if you remove the idea, what we knew from season 2, you remove that, it becomes a horror movie. Like really quickly.
Yeah. Well, we don't. Yeah. So Dork Knight says something interesting. He says, "I think the hesitation because Isaac isn't the doctor. I didn't get that vibe though. I mean, that could have been the motivation for the writers, but the reality is that there was hesitation and then a convincing. So either way, it wasn't a good look, and I wasn't convinced that was what happened.
It wasn't a good look. It's okay. Let me explain why. Like, whoa.
How would Dr. Claire would say bedside manner, and there's kind of this moment. Yeah, it was,
Yeah. That was this that when and I was like, I got nothing, man. Got nothing. Okay. So they're having the discussion that Macon is an imperfect society, and
this is a family problem,
right? And Clyden is very rigid in his traditional beliefs, and Bortus is more apathetic, which makes sense. And there's plenty of couples, by the way, where one couple will have extreme traditional beliefs, right or left, and the other partner will be apathetic, and that's realistic, because it's impossible for a relationship to work when both of you have extreme opinions on opposing sides.
Exactly.
In order for that relationship to work, it has to someone in that partnership or that couple needs to be the one that just doesn't care. He's like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Point. Okay. So Klyden now is confronting Kelly because she's the one who got this ball rolling. And, regardless of whether Klyden's right or wrong, as a parent, this is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to be like, look, man, back off of my kid. Now, look, I know that I don't believe that she has children. I don't believe that Seth MacFarlane has children. There's a whole lot of people here doing stuff that don't have kids. So maybe they don't understand what a parent would do for their kid. Exactly. Maybe they have an idea of what a parent might do, but you don't understand how you really feel.
Yeah, dude, if my kid came home and was like, my teacher, was sharing information or teaching them something I didn't want them to hear or whatever, or telling them to subvert my instructions.
Authority. Yes. That's the key.
I'd be down at that school in a heartbeat. And I'd be asking them point blank to their face, who do they think they are, and why do they think they can talk to my kids?
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't threaten their lives like Clyden did, but...
Well, yeah, so that's a little over the top, and, But, basically in the end here, Kelly ends up basically...
Yeah, she ends up the bad guy.
Beating up Clyden, and then basically saying, next time you come here, I'll cut your hand. I don't know what happened here. It's
melt your arm on the wall. Yeah, here's the deal. Like, I know to a lot of people out there that watch this, I'm sure Clyden was the bad guy and Kelly is the badass chick, right?
Is the good, yeah, right.
To me, I'm like, yo, Kelly's an asshole.
Right. Like, she should have understood what Clyden was going through and the emotional trauma he was feeling, I guess, and somehow found a way to let him there should have been some sort of way to diffuse it.
De-escalation.
Yes.
I don't know. This, you were just manhandling that kid's father.
Right. So it's kind of like if you take this scene, here's the words really. Here's Kelly. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to do to your daughter what I want. And you're going to just take it.
Oh,
And that's what I'm talking about right now.
Oh, don't. The way you just said that right now made me feel uncomfortable.
But that's kind of what it felt like in a way. Like that's not what the goal was for Kelly and for the characters. But as a person watching it, it felt like there was a sort of, I'm going to fix this problem.
Yeah, you can't change. I can do whatever I want because I think it's moral and I think it's right, and you have no say.
Right. And now I understand, like Danny's saying here, he went to break her neck. Yes, she had to defend herself. She's the one who made the mistake first. Let's not forget. She's the one who overstepped her bounds. Now, breaking her neck is totally unacceptable.
Right.
So, but that's Clyden for you. And Kelly's obviously more powerful than he is.
Clyden.
It's classic Clyden. So she, as the more evolved, I guess, more person in charge, needed to probably be the person to diffuse it to some degree.
Right. Okay. Moving on. That's my thumbnail right there. This is my thumbnail. That's the thumbnail.
She's not reasoning with him. She's not, she's the reasoning is all done. Now
she's literally bending his arm.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. No, she's feeling I don't know.
She's feeling guilty for what happened. Please. And this is where we learn that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, this is where we learn where, Bortus is basically, he gave the password. And, it's funny. She's like, you did. And he's like, I was a moment of panic. I just, So Bortus had no intention of really seeing this thing through either, So Bortus is having his own issues as a dad.
Right.
In this situation. And, but ultimately now he is responsible ultimately for Topa knowing what happened. Right. So Kelly's off the hook.
Right. She's not off the hook.
Well, no, I mean, that's what they wanted us. They wanted us to, they realized somehow when they were making this that, okay, wait, we might be going too far with Kelly here. All right, someone else needs to take the heat. Okay, the dad takes the heat. Right. So that's when he was writing, when Seth or whoever was writing it out, that's probably what they thought.
Right. Okay. And he even says, you are not responsible. I disagree.
She's well, let's not forget. Then there's that tear that I love from Peter Macon.
It's good.
Let's not forget that Topa has a real problem issue here.
Right.
This is not imaginary. We're not saying that that this character doesn't have a problem, and this is not appropriate for this character. It's not what we're saying. It's the underlying message that Seth is giving us here that we're kind of combating.
Well, yeah. And Shane, you said it. He has a real problem. And coincidentally, a parent with the same problem.
Yes. Yeah. Which is not reasonably being handled properly. So
right.
But just note that we understand that we're not, we're not passing this off as nonsense. Topa's, obviously having real trouble here.
Right. All right. The doc was like, yeah, the good news is I can, I'm not worried about self-harm at the moment. So she's not even worried about it. She's, but they can solve the problem. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Claire has almost the reasonable standpoint here. She's kind of the adult in the room saying, yeah, I'm not worried. I think we're okay. Basically what Claire just told us was this is not an emergency.
Yeah. We don't need to force this kid into a transition right now.
That's exactly. I almost felt like they were trying to make Claire the other side.
We can talk this out. Right.
Which would have been okay. And at some point, maybe Topa does need to have this operation or this change needs to occur. They just skipped a couple of steps.
Right. Right. Okay. They're your parents, Topa. Talk to them. You should have been saying that from day one.
Yep. True.
Okay. And that's when she introduces him to like the female Macklin that went to his trial.
Really great character. I love the Dolly Parton episode so much.
Okay, by the way, this right here, the one on the far right, that is Kelly.
Yes.
In that season, God, her hair looks so much better when it was.
Look at how much more she weighed.
Yeah, she was thicker and she had wavier hair. And now she's really thin with straight hair.
Yeah, I didn't even notice the change until this.
Yeah. Hey man, just proves a little thickness goes a long way. It's good. I'm a fan of the thickness.
This was actually a really nice scene here because if you're looking for female Macklin representation of somebody you want to emulate as a female Macklin, then this is the lady 100% to do it. And the fact that they showed that Topa had this connection with this person, that she could see herself in this, she's emotional over it. Yeah, that was actually a really good telling moment. And for the character of Topa specifically, born a girl, feels like a girl, should be a girl, wanting to be a girl, then that scene makes total sense.
Right.
I'm surprised they're all back in the same room together.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm tripping out because they're sitting there fighting the whole time, and I just realized when the camera pans out, I realized that Bortus is just casually sitting there watching them fight. And look at this. It's then Bortus gets up. He's just watching.
Right. He's like, man, I don't have none of this.
I don't want to. I just got off a 12-hour shift, dude. Why am I doing this right now? And he gets up.
Kid, buddy, stand up.
He straightens out his, So what they're doing is they have decided against Klyden's wishes that they're gonna give the kid the transition.
So does Bortus say there that he agrees Topa should get the transition? I didn't see that. I saw him agree with Kelly, but that's not, I believe, what he was saying.
Oh God, Kelly is such. Oh my God, Kelly really bothered me in this episode. Her aggression with Clyden, and it's just they are slowly making this character so unlikable. And this episode was one of those episodes that definitely tipped into the unlikable factor for Kelly.
Well, and here's the issue. Bortus should have been having this conversation. Bortus should have been Kelly. Bortus should have been having this conversation with Clyden. Because it was Bortus who was frustrated when the issue first happened, remember?
Right.
This should be the culmination of Bortus and Clyden. Maybe it ends in their divorce. And maybe that's what happens. And Bortus ends up winning his argument. But instead, Kelly is battling for him instead. It really should be Bortus putting his foot down and saying, she was a baby. She was a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Kelly is not part of their family. She is Bortus's boss. Why is she even involved in this?
I don't know. It's I wonder because that's exactly what's happening. Maybe Seth's a genius. And he's like, well, this is what's happening in our society right now. People like Kelly are doing this, telling people how they should do their thing, and I'm going to play it out just like that. I don't know whether it's a genius move to show us that's exactly what the way society is acting in these situations, or we're just seeing his hand being played as, well, this is the way I'd like to have it seen. Right?
Yeah. I see that.
Which one is it?
Maybe you just stay away from the topic if you can't
but they started the topic. It had to come to some sort of ending. Why is Bortus not the antagonist here? Why is that they're not a family issue? Listen to what I'm saying. Why is there not a family issue of Bortus and Clyden and Topa, and then Kelly is Bortus's mentor in this situation? Why is she the protagonist in the story?
So Bortus asks Claire if there's any psychological problems. Claire says no. And then she goes on to explain that this can also be addressed at a different time. But because of her unique history, this should be all that should matter is the wishes of Topa. And here's the deal, guys. That's not accurate. The wishes of Topa is not the only thing here. Topa is a child incapable of making permanent life-altering decisions on their own. They need their parents. Topa needs her parents, his parents, whatever. Requires it. The fact there's a bunch of adults staying around in a room who come to the conclusion that Topa will make the decision on her own is insanity. It's insanity. So Bortus never actually signs off on the transition. He simply asks if there's a problem with it, and does it needs to happen now. And Claire clearly tells him that's not the case, and that Topa needs to make the decision on his own. That's what happens.
So that's what happens. And so I think what Claire was saying in this case, and this was Seth trying to say in this case, because I think he understood like the line that he's walking here, you know, and so I think they tried to clean it up in that moment by saying because Topa's case is like this, and she was born a girl, it was very firmly a girl and should be a girl, then that's why this exists. I think they were trying to say that because the rest of the episode was you know, an analogy or, you know, for what's happening in our society with the transgender situation. So it was that's probably why they had to do that line. And I do agree that in Topa's situation, her ultimately becoming a girl again makes sense to me. I just wish that her dad had been part of that with her, right. You know, and it, you know, and it should have been dealt with. Bortus should have been the winner in this thing and saying, yes, I am going to make sure that my daughter becomes a daughter again. And I don't care what my husband says because he's wrong. And if we can't work it out, then that's the end of it, you know?
Right. They completely left Bortus off the hook. He asked a couple of minor questions to make sure that he's not, you know, physically responsible for her mental health. And then they leave it up to Topa. So Salty Trekker sent us a super chat. Thank you, Salty Trekker. $5. He says,
thank you.
Sorry, I am behind, and you said you can't do serious subjects like this with levity. Wrong, they did this in season 1 when Topa was first altered. That's true.
That's a good point. There was a lot more levity, and it felt like the whole thing with Topa in that season, and thank you so much, Salty Trekker, for that, was that the episode wasn't entirely about the Topa situation.
Right.
It was a part of the episode, whereas this is the entire episode.
Right.
And I think it makes it a little more difficult to enter that levity because of the tone that they're taking, and especially because of the stances that the main characters are taking in this. They are so on one side.
Right.
Whereas in the original episode, there was a little bit more confusion. Well, the Mocklins have this thing. We're not exactly sure if it's right or wrong. There was a little bit more ambiguity because they weren't certain. Now they're certain in this episode, and be damned if it's going to be anything different than what they think it's going to be.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Thank you for that, Mike. I appreciate that.
Okay, so they decided that I love this. Well, it requires the consent of at least one parent or guardian. Of course it does.
Well, if you have better.
I don't know. I feel a little bad for Clyden. I can't believe I'm saying I feel bad for Clyden.
I don't feel bad.
He's a douchebag, but like he's been totally ramrodded this whole time.
I mean, he was written that way, and Chad acted him to the floor. Chad kicked butt.
Yeah, he did.
Acting out Clyden. Clyden was just written to be a one-dimensional piece of garbage character.
Right.
And for that reason, the character is not a great character, and they could have given him a lot more dimensions.
Right. I agree. Super chat from Aliens for the Cause, $50. Holy crap, dude!
Wow, man! Thank you so much. That is a big deal. He's got something to say here.
Yeah, he says it was Bortus. It was Bortus. What does "will" mean? WHOH.
Whoa! I don't know. It was
Bortus. It
was also Bortus. Who? It's supposed to be who?
Oh, sorry. Who asked about the political impact IRRC which should have been Kelly. Why would that be a main concern for Bortus? Yeah, that's a great point. Why isn't Bortus more concerned? Mostly, majority, almost entirely concerned about his child and not the political impact it would cause.
Yeah, 100% true. Thank you so much for that, Atheist for the Cause. You've always been an awesome supporter. And John Burns also always supporting us. Thank you for the super chat. He's also got one here for $5. Thank you, sir. Before the surgery, I couldn't understand why no one pushed Topa to Shadow Ed. Oh no, Topa's sad, so Shadow Ed. That removes the suicide issue, no? That's a really good point. Why couldn't she also Shadow Ed or continue on doing that? It would have made a lot more sense for that to at least to be an option. I guess maybe they didn't want to make it so that they gave in to, what Clyden was forcing to happen, and that's probably why they didn't allow her to Shadow Ed.
Oh, yeah. If IRC means, if I remember correctly.
And yeah. I'm surprised because Brian knows every one of these little things on the internet. So I was waiting for you to spit it out.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I've never seen it before. My mind instantly went to MIRC, internet relay chat.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you guys are both right here. I feel like Bortus, his only concern should have been the well-being of his child. The political stuff is 100% secondary. That's odd to me.
Well, he could have been concerned with the relationship with his mate as well, which obviously played into a part here because Clyden said, there was a really nice moment where Clyden said, I don't want Topa to suffer the way I suffered. I don't want him to go through what I went through and to suffer like I suffered. And I think that was a moment where Bortus was like, well, God, I don't want my child to suffer that way as well. And so that's why he backed off a little bit because he's like, he realized, and he's also got a commitment to Clyden, so it's just a really complicated situation, but ultimately Bortus had to be the guy to stand up for his kid no matter what. And listen, when you have children, if you guys do or don't, if you have children, you love your wife or you love your husband, but nothing stops you from taking care of your kids, even your partner.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Nada. Zilch. Zero. Nada. Okay. So the Admiral said you cannot perform the procedure because the Mocklins will be pissed and they'll leave our union and we need them so that we can survive the Kaylon attacks. Right?
Yes.
All right. Pretty much what it
but
is.
What's interesting about that is that's totally the way it would work. Governments fighting with governments saying, look, we're not going to risk our entire situation here because of one child's issue.
Right.
And, go Union Orville. Not that important. Hey, we lose the Mocklins and the Kaylon kill everybody. And so the message sent to us is it doesn't really matter if our civilization is completely destroyed by the Kaylon as long as we take care of this one individual.
Bingo. That's what that means. Right.
So what,
this one individual, more important.
And, there is an argument there to be said, is the individual more important than the whole? In today's society, yes, it seems like it is that way. Some people aren't willing to make sacrifices for the bigger good or the bigger cause. And they found a loophole around it, but they could have ruined everything. If their guess had been wrong, because they did guess that the Mocklins would, they'd be able to save face. There is a point where they say that here. It'll be okay because we didn't do it, and the Mocklins will be able to save face. And yes, they guessed it correctly, but holy cow, you're rolling the dice with survival.
Yeah, Claire says, I'm going to quit the union so I can do this surgery, basically.
Yeah.
I won't be a fleet officer. I'll just quit. I'm sorry, what? What?
Well, yeah, so that went a whole different way. Yeah, I was like, wow. So Claire's going to decommission so that she can do the procedure because it's more important that this happens with Topa than the entire life I've built for me and my children.
Right, than her life and her children. Like, oh
Yeah.
my. What?
I know. And that's like, it just didn't feel right. I get the sentiment and I get the wanting to take care of somebody you care about and you love Topa and you want Topa to be happy and all these things to happen. But would you sacrifice your own career to make that happen? Would you? I don't know. I don't know if that's something you would say.
No, what about your kids? What about your kids?
Yeah. It's just, I mean, maybe we're wrong. Maybe we've got the whole thing. Maybe we don't understand it. Maybe we're too old. I don't know. But this definitely didn't make sense to me.
I don't know.
And I feel like primary and foremost, when you write a story, it should the characters' motivations should be true to the characters.
I agree. It should be true to the characters. Yeah, the story's got to make sense and sense as a whole, not just in individual scenes. Okay.
True.
All right. So this is when they decide that, and here's ready? This is when Claire says we're talking about Topa's life. Okay. So here we go. Scene to scene, we got a problem. Because Topa's life, as in 3 scenes ago, you said Topa's life is not in danger. He is not, self-harm is not a concern right now. So what are you talking about? How is it all of us? How did you go from like a casual observer? Yeah, you know what? He's in a bad place, but we can get him through it. He'll be okay to, we're talking about Topa's life. I mean, and my commission instantly, like overnight.
That deserves a downvote. Downvote me.
Yeah, I'm downvoting too. All right. So, yeah, but the problem is in Dark Knight, it's not just the fact that Topa was born female. It's their reactions don't make any sense. Like, their overreactions don't make sense. Like, I don't know. It's like I feel like there's an agenda. Like there's an agenda that they're trying to get to. They're trying to check boxes for the audience, right? To push an ideology, and they're using this to do that. And they're sort of like forcing that the round peg into that square hole so that it fits. But there's so much friction here. It really is too tough of a pill to swallow. And I just used like 3 analogies by accident, but it is. It doesn't quite fit. Doesn't quite fit.
Well, and you got to remember that during when Topa was a baby, this happened. They didn't agree, and they also had pretty strong feelings about it. But they let nature take its course, and now they're stepping in. Later. It's an analogy. You're right. In this situation, and the way Topa is, and I think this is the way they thought about it when they write it. Like, hey, this isn't going to be a big deal because Topa was born a female. It makes sense that she should be a female, right? But when you make it an allegory for what's happening in our society today, and it's obviously for transgender, this is why this is happening. This is why we're telling this story. Then you have to know that people are going to be taking these situations and applying them to societal situations. Now, we can't simply say this is fiction because it isn't just fiction. In this case, it was written for it to be a fictional story that is an allegory for society today. So therefore, we have to judge it as an allegory for society, and whether or not it's appropriate to the way they would do these things.
Right. Yeah. So Isaac says, "I can do the surgery. I am not a union officer."
Which I thought was pretty clever.
Right.
Because if you put what you should do or shouldn't do aside, he's exactly right. He can learn to do pretty much anything that needs to be done. Right. He's a robot. He's highly advanced. So it was a really good, smart, clever way of getting this done, for sure.
I'm an artificial life form, and he's like, yeah, but now the Mocklins really don't like the Kalons.
Oh, yeah, that was actually pretty funny. So having Isaac do it made him double down on supporting, yeah. And I guess it's a way to make it, to really let, everybody off the hook for almost ruining this Mocklin relationship. by using Isaac as a catalyst,
Right.
To solidify that that idea.
So they're going to distract everyone so Isaac can do the surgery with a Bortus concert.
I got to be honest with you, I didn't know there were that many people on the ship.
A lot of people.
Those hallways are full.
So many people.
Oh, our atheist for the cause. I definitely don't think this storyline is done. What do you guys think Klyden is going to do now? Yeah, there's no way Klyden's done. I mean, although he could be done for the season. So if we get a season 4, then he's definitely not out of the picture for good. Chad Coleman's just too great of an actor. I can't see him being gone.
Yeah. So Bortus makes this joke that he's going to use his A game or whatever. There's a lot of people. Okay. People just filing into that ship. Knowing how big that set is, I wonder how they fit everyone in there.
Maybe that's why it looks so tight.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that set is not that big. It's impressive, but it's not big enough for the amount of people they put in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that Kai was
that great?
Yeah. Playing the piano. He actually plays the piano.
I love how Bortus turns around and he's very, very rude to him.
That's Bortus, man.
Obviously, Bortus is nervous.
You will be silent.
No, he played it in a different key. That's what it was. You're playing it too low or too high, whatever.
Right. And he's singing a song about an enchanted.
Upvote Bortus is singing. Fantastic.
Yes, I will vote Bortus is singing.
Well, for me, I don't care what you do.
Yeah, I like Bortus singing.
Yeah.
Sod of I. Okay, whatever it is.
Oh, Salty Tracker, $2 super chat. Where are the downvotes? Well, so you missed it, Mike, but we downvoted it all at the beginning, and before we talked about it, we downvoted the heck out of it.
Yeah, we downvoted a lot beforehand.
Yeah.
So
there's another one coming though.
Bortus, the whole Bortus thing, I feel like the song they chose was a little on the head too. So if you don't agree and we're like, oh, there's no ideological propaganda here, really? How can you not? So you let's say you don't agree, but then the second he sings that song, you should understand that there is 100% ideological propaganda here.
I mean, there is an idea. I mean, that's the point of this. I mean, we're not being, ridiculous. There is an ideological point here, and it's okay to have that. But I think if you're too heavy-handed as you are in this episode, then it becomes difficult to swallow.
Right.
And I just miss the Orville being a little more balanced about it and offering both viewpoints. For 2 seasons, both viewpoints were offered, and I felt comfortable being able to weigh both things and to try to figure out where I'm at. Now I feel like I'm being pushed to a side,
right?
Regardless of how I feel about it.
Yes, you must decide.
And it's different than the way they've done it in the past. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the way you said that, it's different. The way you just said that was such a Shane Popcast way of saying it.
What?
It's different than the way they did it in the past. You said it with the same cadence that you do in the Prime videos.
Oh, sometimes it comes out, yeah.
Yeah. Isaac's like, I'm here to help, Topa. Come with me. Come to my secret room. All right, downvote.
Well, right now or okay.
Right now. Come to my secret room. And please disrobe and recline on the medical bed. And he's like,
there was hesitation.
Like, yo, what, bro? Yeah. So, yeah, Topaz is like, what? Do not, Isaac, yeah. So inappropriate. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the giant robot that wants to cut parts of you off, as I'm sure.
Yeah.
I wish Dr. Finn was here.
Okay, so that does make sense, actually. And so back to the people in the chat who said that they thought it was maybe uncomfortable because it wasn't Dr. Finn, then I agree. Obviously, that was the intention.
Okay.
This is the downvote.
This is a downvote, yeah.
Downvote for me here because what Isaac does here is totally inappropriate. And I know that the people, when you made this and when you wrote this, you thought Isaac is being the hero in this moment. But let me tell you something. You're not being a hero when you beat up somebody's parent when they're trying to like do what they think's right for their kid.
Yeah. This is what
Ever,
like.
ever.
It's like child, parent, and the microphone is you in between, literally in between the child and the parent.
You know, if Clyden was going to beat up his kid,
Yeah,
that's one
different.
thing. If Clyden was going to like, do something terrible to his child, then that would be one thing. Isaac is the hero by stopping him, but that's not what's happening here. He's going to take his child and not let this happen. And I don't know.
It's not a medically necessary procedure. He's not at danger according to Dr. Claire. He's not at danger in any way. So we have a parent who doesn't abuse his kid, who seemingly loves his child, who is going, hey, listen, this is not happening. And then the quote unquote surrogate doctor beats up said parent and does it anyway.
Right. It's just, I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe my viewpoint is different than other people's, but can any reasonable person tell me that? Can any reasonable person tell me that this is not cringy?
It's not even time sensitive. Thank you, atheist. It's not even a time sensitive thing. Why are you
it is time sensitive to these guys who are trying to do this without anybody knowing.
Right. Yeah. But to them, if it's not time sensitive, like we need to put on this elaborate, elaborate show, draw everyone away from the ship. Like, what is all this theater for? It's not time sensitive. It's not. This could be dealt with by sitting in the therapist's office and talking it through with your family. And if they ultimately come to the decision that they want to reverse it, then let that happen. But like,
yeah. Well, does Bortus even know what's happening?
I don't know. Does he?
They don't give any indication that he knows what's happening. He's up there singing and giving this performance. Does he know his kid's getting the sex change operation?
I don't know. He probably wouldn't care.
I mean, he might not care, but he doesn't even know. I just, he should be in on it. It would make so much more sense if Bortus was like, yes, let's do this. I need your help.
Wait a minute. But why would you need Bortus to be in on it? So, I don't think Bortus does know. Because if Bortus was in on it, then they would just schedule a time with Isaac. They wouldn't have to distract everyone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's why everything just feels so wrong.
Yeah, it feels real disjointed. Yeah. All right. So this is when Isaac basically just beats up Clyden. I mean, doesn't but he grabs him.
Talk about in front of your kid and
dude, it's so disrespectful. It's crazy.
And it's so just God. It's so what it is, Ryan.
I already downvoted this. I can't downvote it again, but I almost want to downvote it.
It's so tone deaf, bro. That's what it is. It's tone deaf. It's just tone deaf.
Yeah. Oh, God. That was hard to watch.
I see what John said here. John said, Bortus is a Union officer who cannot be blamed. You're right, John, but other Union officers know this is happening, including Claire, Ed, and Kelly. So Bortus can know and lie about it like everybody else, I guess.
Mitch said that Bortus was in the know. So
I got to go back and look at it again. I didn't see it. You guys may be right. But
is this what you want, atheist? Is this what you want?
I may have missed it. That old bottle is going to be gone. Are you crazy?
Oh, my God. Might as well finish that off.
All right. I'll go back and look at it again. I didn't feel like he was, but I may have missed that.
No, it didn't. All right. Moving on. So he does the transition. And he sings, and okay, let's skip through all this. skipping. All right, so Topa feels better about herself now that she's a.
Yes.
Okay.
Topa is happy. She should have been a girl the whole time. We all agree that she should have never been changed to a male. It was Moclan society, and now that she's a female, again, she's obviously going to be a happier Moclan.
Yeah. All right, and then the admiral comes personally to the ship now.
I love this.
To literally feed them their own. Yeah, she's very upset, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Well, and I do like this, so I'm going to upvote this actually because there had to be some sort of repercussions for, for what they did, and I like that they showed that they weren't just going to like let them off the hook and it was going to be nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even though they do kind of get off the hook on it, it's, the admiral's obviously really mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a good job. We've never seen this admiral before.
Yeah, they just keep switching up the admirals on us, though. You notice that? I don't know why.
They should have had, why didn't they have Ted Danson deliver this one?
See, and that's another thing, too. Like, if you want there to be levity, you just make Ted Danson the guy who's got to be the bad guy. And it'll have a more lighthearted feel. Because, like, everything he does has sort of a lighthearted...
Oh, you can't pull your punch at the end. No. That's probably why they didn't use him then. You can't, after that serious heaviness, you can't end it light.
It's true.
No way. It would have felt cheap.
Yeah. All right. All right, you all got lucky. Blah, blah, blah.
And then she says, give the girl my best. So, of course, she probably agreed, with the whole situation that she should be a girl.
Right, because her opinion matters. She has no connection to this child whatsoever. No connection to the parents.
I mean, but it's okay that she has that opinion. I mean, it's fine. But she was trying to do the right thing, regardless of the situation, which was protect the Union.
Right.
And Clyden leaves, right? Are we there yet?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I think I skipped past it. Yeah, Clyden is like, I'm leaving you. I'm divorcing you, Bortus. No more egg-sitting for you, Bortus.
So downvote this for me because I'm sorry. I just don't. I mean, if the character is this evil and terrible of a character, that's fine. But telling that kid, I wish you were never born, there is no redemption for this character now.
Yeah, that's insane.
I mean,
dude, Chad pulls it off, bro.
Clyden is a product of his development, of who he is as a character, the way he's come across. I just can't believe there's no redemption for this character whatsoever, and that all he serves is a representation of the other political party.
Right, and here's the problem. Like, apparently, that's the majority on their planet, right? So, like, what you're saying is most Moclans are just like Clyden. Because he's a traditionalist, which would make him the majority.
Most are. No, you're right. Most Moclans do feel the same way he feels. And how many Moclans were born girls turned into boys? A lot. Probably almost half of their population, since very few ever make it. So there are a lot of Moclans in this same situation who end up going through life. They don't talk about the Moclan suicide rate. They don't, there are a lot of Moclans offing themselves. I don't know, so there's just a whole lot of deeper places here, to take this message received. We understand.
Yeah, we get it.
What's happening here? We understand the message that's being transferred. The question is, did we stay in the story, or while we were watching it, were we constantly pulled out and yanked out by things that didn't make sense? And that's what happened here. So in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. The end here, this conversation with Claire and Isaac wasn't really necessary. It served no purpose.
No, one of the things that was in flux was their relationship. And this is, she invited him to dinner basically.
Yeah.
because he came through, and the reason he helped Topa wasn't for Topa, which I thought was interesting.
Right. It was for Claire.
It was very Isaac, and you can upvote this because Isaac did something that he should have done, which he said, I did it because he thought it would get him better standing within the crew. And he's trying to make it better and more efficient for everybody. So he's being Isaac.
Right.
Which is a really...
I think I just lost Shane. But Shane's right. He's being Isaac. In fact, he was being Isaac in the first episode when he offed himself because, and for that reason, because the crew wasn't going to be efficient with him, with him being around anymore. And he figured out a way around that. I'm going to figure out what happened to Shane. I don't know. He's just gone. Shane just left. All right, that's okay. I think he was done. He was like, I've been reviewing this too long. All right, we're going to wrap this up. So basically, Topa goes to the bridge, and he sits in the command chair, and that's it. Happily ever after. That's pretty much how it went down for them. So, how does this work? If our score is a -1 to a +2, that would make it a +1, I believe. Okay. That's what the score is. So this still scored higher than Strange New Worlds. You're right, bro. Okay, hold up. Let's get into that. Magna Knight 2 gave a super chat. How well do you think this episode will age? Dude, I don't know, man. That's a great question. I don't know. Oh, man. I guess it depends. Is it 0.5? Am I stupid? I'm stupid, huh? It's 0.5, huh? I am stupid. My bad. How well will it age? Well, I guess it depends on where the political winds blow. If the political ideology continues to move farther and farther left, then I'm sure this will age like a fine wine. If the political, and this is historically accurate, usually what happens is the pendulum shifts throughout history. The cycle, moves this way, right? So if we start to move back toward the right end of the political spectrum, because of the typical political cycle, then this episode will probably age like a fine milk. So it's really hit or miss, dude. Depends on, like, in 10 years, where are we at? Are we farther left as a society, or has the pendulum shifted the way it always has, and we're now we've moved farther to the right? I don't know. Really depends. Oh, Shane's back, everyone. Shane's back. Hey, Shane. There he is. Hey, buddy.
4 live shows in a row. We got to figure this out.
Yeah, it's right. It's fine. So, what's our score here? People are arguing about the score. It's 2-1.
My biggest problem, I just want to be really, really clear. My biggest problem I still love the Orville. Just because I didn't like this episode and I didn't like what happened here, I still like the Orville, and there were still good things that happened inside the Orville. So it doesn't have to be a negative episode because I disagree with the way they delivered their message. Okay. So there was not a ton of downvotes for me. I downvoted the moments I saw. And so that's why it's not like a super negative thing. Their acting was fantastic. Okay. There's still a lot of really wonderful things about what happened. And I just didn't like the way the messaging was delivered. So for me, it's a 2. And that means our score will end up being a 1.
Right. So it is 1 point higher than Strange New Worlds.
And the reason why Strange New Worlds had so many more things is there were a lot more things to downvote because there were a lot more individual problems. while this one problem in the Orville was a big problem for me, you know, our rule is we can only downvote something twice. So, you know, when you looked at Strange New Worlds, all the stuff with the Gorn, there were just a bunch of stuff with Uhura, with, you know, Lieutenant Kirk. There were so many things to be downvoted. That's why you ended up with a much more negative score.
Yeah. So to be honest, if I had to pick the better of the episodes this week, I do believe that Strange New Worlds, once again, for me, was a more entertaining episode of television. And this episode of the Orville, to be honest, actually frustrated me. As the episode progressed, I got more and more annoyed and frustrated. So I would tell you, I was not entertained. I do appreciate some of the acting, and I appreciate some of the acting. But the overall show was frustrating, and I don't want to watch television to be frustrated. I don't want to watch a television to seem to be depressed. I don't want to be like annoyed by continuity errors or canon issues. I want to be entertained. So yes, there was clearly problems with Strange New Worlds this week. Killing Hammer was probably one of them, but I think overall for me, I think I gave them overall I think it was the same score, right? So I had -1 across for both, and you had a 1 for 1 and 2 for this one. So.
Well, and Orville, and if I'm being honest, the Orville for me was a better episode than Strange New Worlds was this week. So even though Strange New Worlds was irritating in the way they delivered it and what they did, I still feel like the acting was better in the Orville. And ultimately, you know, I just enjoy and care about those characters more than I care about the Strange New Worlds characters, and they killed Hemmer. So if my score is a little bit higher than it was for Strange New Worlds, it's probably, you know, it's because I enjoy the Orville still a little bit more. I'm still a fan of the Orville, despite what I talked about today.
No, this is
I'm still a fan of Strange New Worlds. Like I said, you can have a bad episode. It's okay.
Yeah. This is from episode to episode. Okay.
Yeah, so we don't define the entire series based on one episode.
No, we can't. So that is the review for this. Then we're gonna head to chat.